Hey everyone, thanks for joining us again for another deep dive. We know you're busy people and you want to grasp these complex topics as quickly as possible. So today we're going to tackle the world of commercial property, specifically here in Latin America.
Right on. So commercial property can sound a little bit technical at first, but at its core, it really is just the real estate we see and use for business every single day.
Exactly.
Think about it. That little bakery on the corner or that sleek office tower downtown. We're talking about all of those.
Yeah, and in our deep dive today, we're going to break down this concept for you. By the end of this, we want you to have a crystal clear understanding of what commercial property is, the different types we see in our region, and why this matters. Whether you're thinking about investing or just want a better grasp of how our cities tick commercially.
Absolutely. And for this deep dive, we've analyzed a transcript of a really interesting YouTube video from Riqueza Vital.
Okay.
The title's Propiedad Comercial. ¿Qué es y cómo puede beneficiarte? We'll be pulling out the key insights and some surprising facts along the way.
So get ready for an insightful ride, folks. All right, let's start with the basics. What exactly do we mean by commercial property in the context of Latin America?
Okay, well, as we mentioned before, commercial property really is any property that's used for business activities. The source we analyzed highlights three main categories that are really representative across our countries.
Perfect. Let's break them down. First off, we have retail spaces, or as they call it in the video, locales comerciales.
Right.
These are all those shops, restaurant services you see in malls on main streets all across our cities. Think your go-to barber shop or that bookstore you can't resist.
Exactly. Then we have office spaces or oficinas.
Okay.
These are buildings or areas within buildings dedicated to administrative and professional work. They're generally located in areas with a lot of economic or financial activity.
Makes sense. And third, we've got industrial buildings or edificios industriales.
Yeah. These are the spaces dedicated to production, storage, logistics. Factories, warehouses, distribution centers all fall under this category. As the source points out, each of these types has specific requirements and also offers different opportunities.
What's fascinating is that the function of the space is what really defines it as commercial. It's not just about the physical building.
Right.
It's about its use for generating economic activity.
Now that we've covered the main types, what are some key considerations to keep in mind when we talk about investing in or developing commercial property in Latin America?
Well, a crucial starting point, and the source really underlines this, is the relationship between location and the type of business. It wouldn't make much sense to put a high-end boutique in a remote industrial area, right? The location has to be strategically chosen for the kind of business that's going to be operating there.
Right, of course.
For instance, a restaurant might look for areas with high foot traffic or near office buildings, whereas a warehouse might prioritize access to major highways. Totally logical. And then we enter the sometimes tricky territory of legal aspects. What does the source tell us about this in our region?
It highlights three fundamental pillars. First, zoning or zonification.
Okay.
These are municipal regulations that define what activities can be carried out in different areas of a city or town. It's essential to understand that depending on the type of business you want to set up, you're going to need specific permits. The requirements for a bar with alcohol sales will be different from those for an office.
So before we get too excited about a place, we got to make sure that the local regulations allow our business to operate there smoothly. What else on the legal side is important?
Well, the second point is lease agreements or contratos de alquiler. Establishing clear and detailed terms between the property owner and the tenant is crucial to avoid future conflicts. Sometimes in our countries, things are left unsaid, but a well-drafted contract that spells out the duration cost, who's responsible for repairs and so on, can save a lot of headaches down the road.
No doubt the fine print can make a huge difference. And what's that third key legal aspect the source mentions?
It's regulations or normativos. This covers all the specific rules and requirements that can vary significantly between localities, even within the same country. The source emphasizes the importance of seeking advice from experienced real estate professionals and lawyers to make sure we comply with all these local regulations. Following the law not only protects your investment from potential penalties, but also paves the way for a smooth and sustainable business growth.
Definitely getting sound legal advice right from the start is a smart investment in itself. Now, stepping away from the individual level, how does commercial property impact the economy and urban development in our Latin American cities?
This is a crucial point that the source addresses very well. The commercial real estate sector is a major economic engine in our countries. Firstly, it generates a considerable amount of jobs, from the construction of the buildings to the management of the properties and all the businesses that operate in them.
Of course. It's not just the construction workers, it's the mall managers, the real estate agents, the store employees. It's a whole value chain.
Exactly. And secondly, the companies that operate in these properties, whether by renting or buying, contribute significantly to the local economy through taxes and other contributions. This investment and the return it generates is vital for the economic development of our communities.
So it's not just about isolated buildings and businesses. There's this ripple effect throughout the entire community. And what about the development of our cities?
Well, commercial property shapes the urban landscape very visibly. The construction of new buildings and shopping centers changes the appearance and functionality of neighborhoods and areas. This can attract more visitors, and as the source mentions, it fosters the emergence of small businesses by creating new hubs of activity.
Right. Think about how a new shopping mall might revitalize a previously neglected area.
Exactly. And think about those areas in your own city, right? Those business centers or commercial districts that become meeting points and really boost the local economy. Absolutely. And on a larger scale, commercial property influences regional planning. It helps to define where business zones are located, and as a result, it drives improvements in road infrastructure, utilities, and transport, which ultimately benefits both investors and residents in general.
It's interesting to see how something that can seem so focused on business activity has such a broad impact on our environment and our quality of life. Now, for those who are considering taking the plunge and acquiring commercial property in Latin America, what key steps does our source mention?
Well, the acquisition process requires, as the source says, a very methodical approach.
Right.
The first fundamental step is the detailed property evaluation, or evaluation detallada.
What exactly goes into conducting such a thorough evaluation?
It involves analyzing in depth the specific location within the city, the size of the property, its state of conservation, the quality of its installations. It's also crucial to consider the type of property. Is it an office in a corporate building, a street-level store, an industrial warehouse with highway access? Each has its own characteristics and requires specific analysis.
And then comes the crucial part of determining a fair price.
Right, the property valuation.
Right.
Valuation seeks to establish the fair market price of the property at that moment. Different methods are used for this. For example, comparing it to similar properties that have been sold recently in the same area. You also analyze factors such as the current market demand, the potential for growth in the area, and the unique characteristics of the property in question. All this helps you understand if the investment is sound and if it aligns with your financial goals.
Crucial for not overpaying and ensuring a good return. And after finding the ideal property and knowing its value, it's time to think about how we're going to finance it, the financiation.
Exactly. Financing is a critical aspect.
Yeah.
We need to plan how we're going to obtain the necessary resources, whether through bank loans, personal savings, the participation of investment partners, or even credits from development institutions. It's vital to analyze interest rates, repayment terms, and the conditions offered by the different financing options in the current economic context of our countries.
No doubt a significant financial decision that can significantly impact the long-term profitability of the investment. And once we've secured the financing, what's the next step in the acquisition process?
Well, we reached the signing of the purchase agreement, or contrato de venta.
Okay.
This legal document details all the conditions of the agreement between the buyer and the seller. The source mentions that in many cases, it's highly advisable to work with a real estate agency experienced in the commercial market.
Okay.
They can help you negotiate better conditions, understand the legal documentation, and ensure that all procedures are carried out correctly and securely.
A good real estate agent can be an invaluable ally. Once we become property owners, the story doesn't end there, right? There's the crucial stage of management and administration.
That's right. Management and administration are essential to maintain the value of the property over time and to ensure a constant flow of income if the property is going to be rented.
Okay.
This mainly covers two areas: maintenance of the spaces and the relationship with the tenants.
Let's talk about maintenance first. What does it mean to properly care for a commercial property in Latin America?
Maintenance is fundamental for the proper functioning of the property and for projecting a professional image. This includes tasks such as regular cleaning, necessary repairs to electrical, plumbing, or structural installations, and the care of common areas, if any. Keeping the building in good condition is not only important in itself, but it's also key to attracting and retaining tenants.
Yeah.
No one wants to rent a place that looks neglected.
Exactly. Image is everything in business.
Yeah.
And what else is part of the daily operations of a commercial property?
Daily operations include the management of basic services such as security, the maintenance of gardens or outdoor areas, and the supply of utilities like water, electricity, and internet. Also, it's very important to have an emergency management plan to know how to act in any eventualities, such as a prolonged power outage or a security problem.
Right.
Hiring a good property management company, as mentioned in the source, can be an excellent option to delegate these responsibilities.
So turning to professionals can be a wise decision to avoid headaches and ensure efficient management. And the other key aspect you mentioned was the relationship with tenants. How is this handled in the Latin American context?
Cultivating a good relationship with tenants is crucial for the long-term success of any commercial property intended for rent.
Right.
Fluid and constant communication facilitates the resolution of problems in a timely manner. In some cases, it may be useful to organize periodic meetings to listen to their concerns and suggestions. The lease agreement should be clear, fair, and comply with local laws, benefiting both the landlord and the tenant. Transparent management generates trust and can encourage long-term contract renewals because tenants feel valued and cared for.
A mutually beneficial relationship is ideal to ensure the stability of the investment. Now, for those who are considering commercial property as an investment strategy, what are the main approaches presented by the source?
The source mainly highlights two strategies. The first is direct investment or inversión directa. This consists of directly acquiring commercial properties, whether they are retail spaces, offices, warehouses, etc. The main advantage here is the total control you have over the property.
Right.
You can select the tenants, make decisions about maintenance, and have a clear vision of the financial performance. However, it also involves greater responsibility and management.
So an option for those who want to be directly involved in the management of their investments. And what is the other strategy mentioned in the source?
It's indirect investment or inversión indirecta. Instead of buying a property directly, you invest your capital in real estate investment funds or in real estate investment trusts known as REITs.
Okay.
This option allows you to diversify your investment in a portfolio of properties without having to manage them directly. In addition, REIT shares usually have greater liquidity in the stock market.
So a more passive alternative with the advantage of diversification and liquidity. Both strategies have their pros and cons, as the source rightly points out. Direct investment can offer more stable income in the long term, while indirect investment can provide greater flexibility to enter and exit the investment.
And speaking of minimizing risks, the source also highlights the importance of diversification or diversificar el portafolio of commercial property investments.
Why is it so crucial not to concentrate all our investments in a single type of property?
Diversifying allows you not to depend on the performance of a single property or a single sector of the commercial real estate market.
Okay.
You can consider investing in different types of properties, such as offices in the city center, retail spaces in tourist areas, and warehouses in industrial parks. By having a diversified portfolio, you protect your capital from possible falls in specific sectors, and you contribute to maintaining a more constant and balanced growth of your commercial real estate investment overall.
The classic strategy of not putting all your eggs in one basket applied intelligently to the world of commercial real estate. Now, as in any economic sector, there are surely challenges and also interesting opportunities. What does the source tell us about this in the Latin American context?
Definitely. The commercial property market in our countries presents both challenges and very attractive opportunities.
Okay.
A fundamental aspect to identify these opportunities and anticipate the challenges is to conduct a thorough market analysis or análisis de mercado.
What does it take to conduct an effective market analysis before making an investment decision?
It involves assessing the supply and demand for commercial properties in a specific area to understand price trends and current occupancy levels. Some key questions you should ask yourself are, what's the vacancy rate in the area? How fast is the local population growing? And what kind of businesses are thriving in the area? Analyzing the competition is also important to identify market niches and opportunities to invest in spaces that meet unmet needs. Adapting your decisions based on concrete data is fundamental to minimize risks and maximize the return potential.
So, doing thorough research on the environment before investing is an essential practice. And what opportunities are on the horizon for commercial property in Latin America? The source mentions something about the growing importance of sustainability and energy efficiency.
Yes. This is an increasingly relevant point with great potential in our countries.
Okay.
Sustainability and energy efficiency are aspects that both companies and consumers are increasingly valuing. Many tenants actively seek properties that have environmental certifications or that incorporate sustainable practices. Implementing improvements in this regard, such as the installation of solar panels or the optimization of water consumption, not only attracts environmentally conscious tenants, but also reduces operating costs in the long term by lowering energy consumption. Investing in low-consumption LED lighting or using recycled materials in renovations are concrete examples that the source mentions. This allows you to meet the demands of today's market and contribute to a more sustainable future for our communities.
An investment that is not only smart from a financial point of view, but also responsible with the environment. I think it's a very positive trend. And looking ahead, what other trends are emerging in the dynamic world of commercial properties?
Well, the future of commercial property is intrinsically linked to technological advances and the exponential growth of e-commerce in Latin America. These two factors are transforming the way commercial spaces are managed, used, and valued.
Let's talk first about those technological trends that are paving the way forward. What innovations are impacting the sector?
Well, technology is revolutionizing the management and efficiency of commercial properties. Real estate companies are adopting digital tools to optimize their processes, from lease management to predictive maintenance of facilities. The use of advanced software facilitates the analysis of large amounts of data to make more informed decisions and optimize building performance. Augmented reality and virtual reality are allowing potential tenants to tour and visualize spaces remotely, which streamlines rental and sales processes. In addition, the implementation of automation systems in buildings makes them more sustainable, safe, and comfortable for occupants. And we can't forget to mention online property buying, selling, and leasing platforms, which are democratizing access to market information and facilitating the connection between owners and interested parties.
A truly fascinating technological landscape with enormous potential. And how is the rise of e-commerce impacting the commercial property sector in our countries?
E-commerce has generated a significant increase in the demand for spaces that can function as distribution, storage, and logistics centers for companies that sell their products online. This means that certain types of property, such as warehouses, industrial parks, and strategically located logistics centers, are experiencing significant growth. On the other hand, traditional retail spaces are facing a reassessment.
Okay.
The demand for physical stores could decrease in some areas as more people choose to shop online. However, this does not imply the disappearance of physical stores, but rather an adaptation towards more experiential and interactive models to attract consumers.
So while some types of properties are strengthened thanks to e-commerce, others need to reinvent themselves to remain relevant in today's market. It's a constantly adapting market. For those who want to delve deeper into this topic, what resources and educational options does the source suggest for Latin America?
Staying up to date with information from reliable sources is essential. The source mentions several useful resources. In terms of books and specialized publications available in Spanish, it recommends looking for titles on real estate investment and commercial property management adapted to the Latin American context. It also suggests closely following publications and magazines specializing in the real estate sector of each country to keep abreast of the latest market trends, changes in legislation, and emerging opportunities.
Excellent recommendations for those who want to expand their knowledge through reading. And what other forms of learning and professional development are there for those interested in commercial property?
Seminars, workshops, and specialized courses are very valuable events where you can learn directly from experts in the field.
Okay.
These usually cover topics such as property evaluation, financing strategies specific to Latin America, and lease management under local laws. Participating in these events gives you the opportunity to ask questions and get answers in real time, as well as make important contacts in the industry. Many of these events are now also offered in virtual format, which makes it easier to access them from anywhere.
Learning from the experience of others and making professional contacts is always enriching. Finally, the source addresses some frequently asked questions that usually arise around commercial property. What are some of the most common concerns?
A very common question is about the different types of commercial properties that exist, which we have already detailed. Offices, retail spaces, warehouses, and industrial properties, each with its own specific characteristics and uses.
Right.
There are also questions about the distinctive features of a commercial property compared to a residential one, such as its design oriented towards business activity, its generally larger size, and the need to have adequate facilities for work.
Key aspects to be able to clearly differentiate these two types of properties. What other questions do people interested in this topic usually have?
Another frequent question is about the factors that influence the value of a commercial property. The strategic location, the adequate size, the market, demand, the state of conservation of the property, and the type of business that occupies it play a fundamental role. The essential difference between commercial and residential property is also clarified, emphasizing that the former is intended for profit-making activities and the latter for housing, which entails significant differences in their design, use, and regulations.
Crucial differences that are important to be clear about from the beginning. And as for land use and the possibility of changing the use of a property,
People ask about how land use is determined, which is generally regulated by municipal zoning plans or urban plans, which define what type of activities are allowed in each zone. Finally, the legal implications of changing the use of a commercial property are addressed, pointing out that it may require obtaining special permits and complying with specific local regulations, so it is essential to consult with the competent authorities to avoid legal problems.
very valuable information to have a complete overview of the commercial property landscape. Well, after this deep dive, I think we now have a much clearer and more detailed understanding of what commercial property is here in Latin America, the different types that exist, its impact on the economy, and the key considerations for investing and managing this type of asset.
Definitely. We hope this information is very useful to you, regardless of your current level of knowledge or your interest in investing in this exciting sector.
And for you to continue reflecting on this very relevant topic, I leave you with this question. Considering the constant growth of our Latin American cities, how do you think the demand for different types of commercial properties in your own community will evolve in the coming years?
A very pertinent question to continue exploring the dynamics of the market. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
That's right. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Deep Dive. Until next time.